Welcome to Divorce Finance Toolkit. On my blog, which I have great pleasure in showing you just here, you can see that I attempt to answer all sorts of inquiries from my readers and the people who stumble across my blog. I'm a divorce finance specialist and I deal with all sorts of issues that arise out of divorce and separation. The purpose behind this particular recording is that I had one of my inquirers tell me about a situation in which her ex-husband has stopped paying her maintenance under a court order, and she asked me to show her where to find a form called an attachment of earnings so that she can apply to the court to enforce the payments of the order against him. And I'm going to take you to a web page which is maintained by the government. Now, this particular page is quite handy because you can see here on the right hand side I've already got form N337 located there. Now, this is the abbreviation for the attachment of earnings form, which is right there. Quite handily, it's in PDF format. The form itself, I'm not going to go into great detail in relation to this. It has the obvious details. Of course, the inquirer to my blog simply asked me to show her where the attachment of earnings order application form was. I didn't have any other details, so you do need to be a little bit careful in terms of the application for enforcement that you make to the court. So a request for attachment of earnings would not be appropriate if the person who is meant to be paying you the maintenance is self-employed. This really is just for people who are working for an employer, so they're employed directly. The other scenario under which this form would not be appropriate would be if the person paying the maintenance was in the armed forces. A different procedure is required for that. So there's the form. This is where to find it. One thing that did occur to me in relation to this procedure for enforcement is that if you know that an attachment of earnings form is the appropriate method rather than another form of enforcement, then fantastic, make this application to the court. If, however, you're not sure that this is the right way to proceed, then there is something else that I'd like to show you. So if we just return to the Justice website, I'm going to show you another form. This form is called a D50K. So let me just put that in. And here we go. Again, this is in PDF, so let's open this up. You can see this is called a Notice of Application for Enforcement. And here's the interesting thing. It's by such method of enforcement as the court may consider appropriate. So the really clever thing about this is that you can apply to the judge and you can say to him or her, look, I need to enforce my maintenance order against the person who's refusing to pay me, but I'm not absolutely sure whether it should be by way of attachment of earnings or whether it should be by way of a third-party order, which is where you can try and go against the bank account held by the person who should be paying you the maintenance. So if you know, for instance, that probably you do want to have an attachment of earnings form, then you do complete the form N337 that I was just showing you. But at the same time, if you thought to yourself, well, I'll hedge my bets when I get before the judge, because the judge may say to me, actually, you're barking up the wrong tree and you need to try a different type of enforcement, then do fill out this form as well. This is the D50K. So send both this form and the attachment of earnings or another appropriate application form to the court, and you can ask the judge for some guidance. Now, there is one further form that I would like to show you. And again, if we go back to the Justice website, this is a fee exemption form. And this is called, I think, an EX160. Let's have a look at that. Okay, here we are. EX160A, in actual fact. Again, let's have a look at the PDF, and you can see this is an explanatory leaflet. Quite detailed, but you can work your way through that and you can see whether or not you can make an application for a fee remission. That is, when you make this application for enforcement of maintenance to the court, you do have to pay the court a fee. If you're in a position where you're having difficulty in funding legal advice and you have to make this application yourself rather than through a lawyer, then you may be eligible for a full fee reduction or a partial remission, that is a partial reduction on the amount that you pay. But this form is very handy. If you follow that, you can see the aspects that you need to take into account. Now, that is a quick whistle-stop tour of the forms that you will need to make an application to the court for enforcement of maintenance. So good luck in relation to that, and remember, if you want to have some further guidance in relation to issues on maintenance and enforcement, you can always go back and have a look at my blog, because I deal with all sorts of inquiries that have come into me there, and I hope you will get some assistance from a quick tour around the blog.